Okay, we're live. Let me play some. Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of the Women's Empowerment Series. I have a beautiful and incredible special guest with me today, Caroline Arco. I am so honored to have you. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for for having me as well. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Caroline, you're from Brazil and you're from a very exotic and exciting and paradise like area, and you do an incredible work as a spiritual teacher, spiritual coach, and mentor, and an emotional alchemist and manifestation. So, all this, and I know you have helped thousands and thousands of clients through the years, and it's quite impressive. So, I would love for you to tell us more about your work, what brought you to this beautiful mission that you have, and how do you choose, to balance your life in the beautiful area where you live. Welcome, Caroline.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yes, so as you said, I grew up in the south of Brazil, and there's something about growing up in a place like this where you see a lot of social disparity, right? So you see a lot of people who have a lot of resources, and then you also see a lot of people who don't have a lot of resources. And I was always very lucky to be very much in the middle of all that. I've always had my needs met.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I was around 15 years old, and there's a lot to this story, but this is the parts that I feel like sharing with you today. When I
Sure.
was around 15 years old, I was invited to volunteer. So
Okay.
my school used to sponsor another school which in the middle of the favelas, which are the slums of Brazil, right?
Yes, I know. Wow. Mhm.
You've been there, so I'm sure
I've been
you're
there.
familiar.
We're gonna tell. Yeah, we'll tell you more. But tell me, so you were volunteering? That's very hard and tough, but beautiful to be
Yeah,
able to.
so I was invited to lead a theater group inside that school, right? Which is, I've always been fascinated about theater. Art has always been a big part of my life. So that's what my teacher invited me to do at the time. And I remember that I got into this room with around 15 children, 15 kids, and they were all between 7 to 13 years old. And they were so different from me.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
was a clear cultural shock of being in that space. It was a space that I wasn't used to being at. And when I first got into that room, I remember, that all these kids, they were so protected, they were so angry and kind of, there
Mm,
was something about it of, you could see that they didn't have as easy of a life as I did, of course.
yes.
And it took a while to really connect with them and to kind of break that egg of protection. But after a year of working with these children, I remember that we wrote together this huge play and we produced this play,
Wow.
and we were going to present it. It was like opening night to present this play for all the parents and everybody at school and things like that. And the local TV was coming because it was like a volunteering project. There was all these things happening. And these kids came into that opening night and they had like the brightest eyes, you know what I mean? And they were just
Oh,
so happy, right? And they were like just ble- yeah, gleaming with light, beaming with
I'm
light.
sure.
Teacher, how do I look? And the
Oh,
whole night was like such a success. And at the time I was 15 and there was a lot of pressure on like, what do you want to do for school? And who do you want to be when you grow up? And I never had an answer for that. I didn't know. But when I saw those kids on stage, I thought, this is what I want to do for a living. You know what I mean?
wow.
Like, this is it. Is I want to see people having these kinds of transformations that I have seen in these children, where you go from being so closed off and so afraid and with so many problems in life to just beaming with
Mm.
self-expression and light.
Yes. Yes. That's incredible. And so young because, you don't get that shift that young usually.
So yes, that was pretty young, but of course, like as a 16-year-old at the time, I was like, what do I do with this? So I thought that the way to go about it, the way to create this transformation was to theater. And I
Mhm.
decided that it was going to become this, big famous artist and help change the world and open art schools all around the world and support these
Uh-huh.
children. And of course, needless to say, that's not necessarily what happened, but that is what opened up the space for me to travel, to leave my hometown in the south of Brazil and to go to Sao Paulo, which is the big city, And as I arrived in São Paulo, I met some really interesting characters. One of them, especially being a very old man who started talking to me, and he kept saying, "Do you remember me? Do you remember me?" And I looked at him and I was like, "No, I don't. I don't
Wow.
really remember you." So he started describing scenes, and those scenes were memories that I used to have as a child. They were a recurring dream that I used to have of these scenes. And now there was this man, like standing in front of me and describing them to me in
Yeah.
perfect details. And I couldn't understand what was happening. And he told me, I was a past life partner of you. We used to be together on a past life.
Oh my God.
So that's why, like that's why you've had this experience with these children. That's why you were being called to come to the city. You needed to meet me because I have some things that I need to teach you, because you have a mission to fulfill in
Oh
this
my
world. You have something that you're meant to do. And he started describing all of these things that there was no way that he could know about me, but it was like as if he knew them
He
this whole
knew.
life.
Wow.
And he just like broke my mind open,
That's
right? It
scary
was,
in the beginning if you don't understand what it means, isn't it?
how can you ever understand what it means, right? Like, how can you ever comprehend what's actually happening when
Yes,
you have such an intense experience?
of course.
Um, but
And
but
how
that was
old were you at that time?
I was 18 by
Oh,
then.
wow. So a lot of revelations as you were really young, actually.
Mm.
Mm.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And that's the time where you decide where you go to school. So how did that shape your path?
So that moment kind of like changed everything for me, right? Because that was the first time ever that, without even having the language for it, I understood that there was a greater force
Yeah.
working around us, and I understood that I had a big mission. And today is quite interesting because right now, I'm 33 years old, and I've been doing
You're
this.
young. You look so young. I love that. Wow. Okay, so maybe you were in the favelas the time I went to Brazil. So tell me and I'll tell you when I ended up being there. So maybe there's a connection there. Okay.
Well, so for me, it was 2005.
Oh, that me was much earlier. Like I was my first year at the World Bank and I joined the World Bank in 96. My mission in Brazil was in 98. I was really young at the time. And I was drawn to go to Brazil. I don't even know. It's like I am going to start working in Brazil. I have no idea, but that's because I knew that there is something so big to be done around the Amazon, around. And we hear the story about, the story that you shared. We hear those coming from Brazil. So Brazil has such a powerful energetics that we
Mhm.
knew about somehow. And you find yourself in the middle of it. So you come really to confirm that. Oh my God.
Did you feel that when you were there as well? Did you feel that
Oh
kind of,
yes. Oh
yeah.
yes. I felt that in Bahia. So
Hmm.
oh wow. I felt, and of course people talk about it, right? Because there's a lot of energetics, so you feel it. And I felt something so powerful in there. In the whole Brazil, really, because what was nice is I was working on a national strategy for environment. So it's really going to different places. So, and the funny thing is that they sent me on my own. I was just 25 and I had to go to 5 different places: Curitiba, Salvador, you talked
That's
about the
amazing.
favelas, you talk about all of that. And so I can, hear you going through all of this, but there is so much to be done and so much energy. So let's go back to how then 18 years old, you obviously there is a life bigger than you and you hear it. How did it shape you? Did you end up doing some, theater or a more conventional way of being?
Well, so basically, I pursued a career, the theater career, for quite a while, and I was quite successful at it until I understood that it wasn't going to be the avenue that was going to allow me to change the world, right? Like it was
Mhm.
of course, a very confronting paradigm
Yeah.
to come to face with at some point. But yeah, what's interesting about it is now, like as I am on this path of a leadership of what I call the leaders of the new world, right? And my
Yes.
work, it is really about creating a new world and creating on the level of vibrational alignment first. So I love
Mm,
what you're doing because you're so action based, like what you do is very much the action steps
yeah.
that it takes to create a new paradigm for humanity. And where I operate is very much in the quantum, it's what comes before that, right? Is in the
Wow.
level of consciousness, individual and collective consciousness.
Yes.
Um, and
What
in
so how did you learn? Because you need skills to
Mhm.
be able to feel that you know your way through that invisible, you know, word, right? How did you come to do that?
Yeah, so this is what's interesting because for me, it is all about a level of devotion. So the first time when this gigantic mission was presented to me through that man, right, where he told me, he was like, you have a mission that you need to fulfill in this world. And it's very different than what most people can even understand. He literally used the word, you have superpowers that you have to awaken inside of you,
Which you do, right? Because you can be guided, yeah. Hmm.
which all of us do, right? We do have extra senses and extra ways of perceiving the world that most of us are just not willing to tap into a lot of
Mm,
the times. And there's a
mm.
little bit of fear, and we get stuck in, so many ideas of, is this real? Is this not? And so that was the first time that the mission was presented to me, and it was very overwhelming as an 18-year-old who didn't have the language, and we didn't have the internet where I could look for these things at the time to really understand it. But I've come to a point of really accepting that mission and being devoted to the mission and being devoted to the vision that is bigger than myself. And I think through my devotion, I'm able to continuously developing these gifts, because it's almost like a two-way, is me and spirit.
Yes,
um, where the
this
more
is
the more devoted I am to it, the more devoted it is to me, and it sends me the
wow.
pathways and the skills that are needed to actually create a new wave of creation
I
for all
love
of
that.
us. Hmm.
So, beautiful comment here. Accepting our missions, yes. Devotion, so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is a huge point of being alive. I mean, like, I'm sure that for your work, it takes so much devotion as well, right, to be able to do what you do.
Everything, in everything. And I think you pointed out the most empowering and powerful sentence, or if you want, word that, we need as leaders is to be devoted to
Mm.
whatever you do. And devoted is like, it's almost, it's like you give yourself a promise and you go for it. Unshakable promise. And that's devotion. That's how I see it. How do you feel it? What is devotion to you? How do you see it, you, Caroline, as a person?
Yeah, I think devotion is the ability to live a life of service in your own way, right? And that service to something that it's bigger than you, just as you're talking about, is that unshakable conviction,
Yeah.
um, and I think that really shapes up through service. I believe that one of the most beautiful things that we can do, in my understanding of this life, is that we're here to serve. In the end of the day, we're here to serve each other, to serve the bigger consciousness, to serve love, right? And it's a beautiful thing that we get to create a reality where we're serving the world as we're serving ourselves as well. It's very much,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It's
it's very
all, yeah. But that's because you love what you do. When you love what you do, you serve yourself as you serve the word.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes us be so devoted, right? And that's what I think is so beautiful, is that when we have that, which I call the soul purpose, right? When we have that, our whole life has a meaning, it has a context. Everything that we do it
Yeah.
differently. When we know that we're here for a reason, when we know what we really stand for and the impact that we actually get to create,
Mhm.
um, which I think is crazy. Is like I've read the other day that one person is going to talk to 10,000 people during their lifetimes, more or less, right?
Really? Wow. That's quite a bit. Hmm.
That's quite a
10,000.
bit. Like, if we think about exponentially speaking, that in my lifetime, I impact 10,000 people. In each one of these people impacts another 10,000 people. Is like
Yeah.
the
You can
power that we
impact
have.
millions. The ripple effect. The ripple effect makes you really connect to the whole world. And it might even be faster than that with the digital era, right? Everything's like very fast.
Yes, everything is exponential now, right?
Mm. And you're the one to say that because you're in the quantum field, right? Understanding. Yes. Wow. So
Yes.
now tell me, what brought you to be in the southern Brazil in the tropical island? What is that? What is that
So
calling?
basically, I traveled quite a bit. Yeah, since going from that time in São Paulo, from when I was 18 years old, I've received many, many messages and many direct guidance to go to different places in the world. And one of them was Vancouver, Canada, where I ended up staying for 10 years. So,
Really? Wow, in the cold. So that's two extremes.
yes.
Wow. Uh-huh. So what did you do in Vancouver, Canada?
Well, so basically, I arrived there as a 23-year-old immigrant, not knowing a lot what to do, very much guided by this crazy intuition slash voice that took me there. Um, Looking back right now, though, my time in Vancouver was a time of really coming to face my biggest fears and like really coming to face my shadows so I could really own my light. Like I'm so thankful for everything that Vancouver has brought to me and everything that Canada has given me, including, of course, the ability to be a world citizen and to have a different kind of perception that I wouldn't be able to if I only lived in Brazil my whole
Life.
life. So, yeah, so there were some really beautiful experiences that happened there, some really beautiful awakenings. And then last year, I think it was, yeah, beginning of last year, 2022, we were talking then, I just felt this deep pull that it was time to come back home. It was time to come back to Brazil, right? And as you're talking about, there's this magic, there is this axé in that land that
Yes.
it is really special. We have a saying that says, God is Brazilian, Deus é brasileiro. Uh,
Really? Oh, wow. That's true. I hear that when I go to Brazil. That is so
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Wow. And so
And
you had to call in to go back home.
so I had a calling to go back home, and I did. And it's been incredible the things that I've manifested since then. I've manifested like my dream home one day after we arrived, and yeah, beautiful group of friends, and just like the most incredible experiences in that place. And also now I understand that I'm not actually, I'm not Brazilian, I'm not Canadian, I'm not any of these things. I'm in Holland at the moment, of all places.
Yeah. Not too
Um,
far from each other now.
that's right. But it gave me again like just this sense of unity and really understanding how sovereign of a reality I have created, right? Oh, Emily,
Hey,
mwah, so happy
Emily, sending you love, both of us.
to yeah, but it has been quite an interesting experience to come from a place where, when I first arrived in Canada, I thought that the best I could do for a living was making sandwiches because I didn't ended up not having any formal education. I had a college degree, a 2-year long college degree
Mhm.
in performing arts, which is not considered formal education. So I
Wow.
worked making restaurants for a living for a number of years. And I thought that was the best that I could do. If you were to ask
Mm.
me when I was 24, 25 years old, I wouldn't have a lot of perspective in my life. So coming from there to now being able to travel the world as I wish,
Congratulations.
working with the most incredible leaders and people in my life, and continuously to show up as this fullest expression of myself is literally mind blowing. It's still mind blowing to me that I am the one that created this. I
Wow.
don't think it's supposed to be, you know.
Ah, you are to be celebrated. We're gonna take a moment. I mean, Caroline, I am really saluting you. You are an incredible woman. I didn't
Mm,
know this part of the story, and I am very impressed and really and well done because you are showing that everything is possible. Doesn't matter where you start, how you start, and when you start. Good for you.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. Thank you for
Well,
that. Thank you.
oh, well done. Like really. And I think this is what we want to hear more of. It's never don't because you didn't finish a degree of something, you didn't work out this way. It doesn't matter. It does not
Mhm.
matter. It's your devotion to what you believe. It's the focus in the service you provide, like what you do, and the love that you give through the service. Ah, so how do you help your clients? Tell us. That's the intriguing part.
Yeah, so I basically help my clients to think in a way that challenges the status quo and challenges the.
There we go, powerhouse. You're a powerhouse. To you. So client challenge the statu quo. What type of statu quo is that?
Well,
Like
this
what?
is the thing, right, Dr. Hind? For me, it is all about creation. Is a new paradigm of creation that benefits us and benefits all. And in this new paradigm of creation, there's a whole new set of belief systems that we accept. I call myself a miracle maker, and that's not just because it sounds cute, but it's because I find that the more that I think higher elevated thoughts, and the more that I connect to this bigger context and this bigger purpose in life, the more I realize that absolutely everything becomes a miracle in my life. There's magic available in every moment, right? There's
Mm,
magic available in the sunshine that's crossing through the window. There's
yes.
magic available in these moments where you are all the way in Morocco, and I'm somebody from the south of Brazil, and somehow we met here, and we
Yes.
share this message together.
Yes. And there is miracle in your own life. I think you are the proof of your concept and your approach and what you are devoted to. And there is nothing more powerful than that.
Yeah, so basically I help people to connect to that. I help people to feel like their lives is a walking miracle and not just feel into it, but actually create the evidence of it by developing a new set of belief systems
Mhm.
that are much more productive, much more nourishing, and also work as like literally, like a factory of realities in the quantum.
Mm.
So it is about not just creating from what's predictably in front of us, but it's about developing the ability to completely think outside of the box, to believe in something so much greater, and by the power of you holding that faith and that devotion, actually create a new reality in
Wow.
however fast you want to. uh,
Wow. That is incredible.
yes.
It's like it is I mean, I love the way you put it, like a factory of reality. I mean,
Yes.
this is like you need to say it many times when you're like that in the predictable word or in the traditional way of being, which means you can create your reality because there is a factory out there in the quantum field.
Well, it's about remembering that you are the factory, right? Like you
You
are the
are. Oh,
creator.
that's even more powerful. So you are actually the creator. Ah,
Yeah, it's the collapsing, the idea of breaking the idea of separation of, I'm the one manifesting things, into actually realizing that you are the manifestation itself. Like you have been manifested in this lifetime, and in your ability to recognize that, you actually take back that sovereign power to decide, what do I want to create from here.
yeah.
You're not manifesting, you are the manifestation. So whatever it is that you want to create, as long
Mhm.
as long as you accept that you are, then so it is. um
So manifesting is actually just a way of being. You are,
it's
and
a
you
way of being.
manifest.
It's a way
A
of
lot of people
seeing.
are yes with you. There is a lot of yeses happening here. Yes, they agree. So give us like very easy 1, 2, 3 step. I'm a 1, 2, 3 step. How do we, people are watching us. Tell us when you're connecting from on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. How do you talk about manifestation? What does it mean? Explain it to someone who doesn't understand. How will you say it?
Well, there's two ways that you can, because I know we have 7 minutes left. So there's two ways. One of
Yes. Yeah,
them
just in
is,
a short time. And if they want more, they'll connect with you so that you
Mhm.
can guide them to manifest what they want.
Yeah. But basically, if you want to start literally creating miracles in your life, the first thing to recognize is that at every moment you are in your point of creation, right? You're never creating in the past and you're never creating in the future. So
So it's
the most amount of presence that you can bring to this very moment right here and right now,
yeah.
that's where your true power lies. And if you can come back to this very moment, and if you can plant an intention of what is it that you want to experience in this very moment, whether that intention is connection, or whether that intention is beauty, or whether that intention is love and serenity and peace, and
Mhm.
as you allow yourself to drop into this feeling in this present moment, you can bring the seed of something that you want to create from here, whether that is, a cup of coffee or a white flower or
Mm.
a new client. You can bring that idea from this place, and then you just release it and let yourself go about life feeling into it. So that would be the best way that I would describe it right now, is to come back into the present moment, and through your sovereign power decide, what do I want to feel right now, and feel that.
Okay.
Pay
But
attention to that.
you feel right now in line with what you want to manifest. It's like you change that thought into real feeling of being at ease because you received what you want,
Basically.
being feeling good because you received what you want. I love that. So it's actually using your feelings in the present moment, just like if you have it. Mm.
Basically, and it's over and over and over again. Once you come to the place of, in the present moment, you have everything that you need, and you are all that you want to be, right? Once you come to that place in the present moment, and you come back to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, then it is inevitable that the external representation of that will happen to you. The
Mm.
manifestation of that will happen to you. So it's
Yeah.
really, yeah, is in the moment, in the ability to be so present in the moment, and so intentional of, what am I creating right now? Because we're never creating in the future, we're always
It's
creating in the
creating in the moment. I love that. And I think this is so powerful because a lot of time we say, define your goal, have a vision. But when we do that, we actually live in the future, right? But what
present.
you're saying is like be in the present if you want to manifest, which changes completely the way, this concept. It's not about visualizing what the future will look like, but bringing it to your real reality right now at the moment. This is very
Yes.
powerful. And
Yes.
then we shouldn't worry about it, because when we start worrying, then we just let it go, isn't it?
But you know what? Like, if you really want to get deep into manifestation, I have this incredible workshop. It's $33 and it's on my website, and it's called
Wonderful.
Hacking the Manifestation Code. And like, that would be the
All
one.
right,
That
everybody,
would be the one.
we should go in there. What's the link for it? We're
It's
gonna drop it. No, tell me.
the website is arcoteachings.com. So
Arco
it's right.
teaching
Yeah.
dot
It's in
com.
the chat. I don't know if it
Perfect.
goes to everybody.
And yeah, and I will drop it on Facebook and on, yeah, perfect. And on it's on Facebook and on LinkedIn, arcoteaching.com. That's easy. So everybody can manifest anything. That's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. That is my mission to the world. The more that we realize that we are the manifestation itself, and the more we're using that power consistently and in alignment with what we want to create, the more we create the new world by design, by default. So is it in our ability to remember this, that we actually create planetary collective change? So that is my message into the world.
And
That's what I'm excited to do.
I love that. And the planetary collective change, you want it to be a positive change. You want it to be uh, change for love and empathy and prosperity and sharing.
Yes, with are all qualities that come so naturally to us when we are living through our hearts, right? Like unity and
Unity.
harmony. It comes so naturally to us as we're living through our hearts. And the only way that we can live through our hearts is by coming into that place of, I am able to create my own reality. I'm able to make it in a way that is beautiful to me, because otherwise we're living in survival. And if we're living in survival, we can't always access the state of harmony and the state of union and the state of love that's actually going to move the earth forward. You know what I
Which
mean?
means that the step one is to connect with your heart. That's the step one. So we don't
Yes.
want to go into manifestation if we still need some things to work out inside us, isn't it?
Mhm.
How do you encourage that in your work? How do you invite everyone to connect with love and empathy?
This can literally be as simple as just being very present to who are you being when you wake up in the morning. There's a lot of ways that we do this kind of work, right? There's not
Mm,
like one way or one technique. It is more when you become so devoted to this, when you're
mm,
so devoted to see life as a walking miracle, when you're so
mm,
devoted to finding the soul purpose and the ways that you're going to live through this. I think
mm,
in that devotion you always find your own way, you
mm.
know and it's
Yes.
different for everybody. And when you are in a one-on-one session with me, you're going to find the one that's perfect for you, for an example.
Mhm.
But it really starts with just making that sacred decision of, I'm going to live my best life. Like, I'm going to figure it out, this highest potential that I have. And through that potential, I'm going to serve the world. And there's no
Wow.
other option for me but
Wow.
that. There's no other option for me but that, right?
I love that. That's your inner power connected with the infinite power and like fueling yourself
That's right.
with the quantum power, right? Because that's where where you play. You play in that bigger sphere. That's
Yes.
amazing. That's quite impressive, Caroline. I love this. I think this episode, everybody should hear it and connect and understand how to manifest, because, these type of tools, we never learn them. Not at school, not at university. No one teaches us that. No one. And we stay frustrated, blocked in boxes because we have constrained beliefs, anything that just blocks us. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes courage. It takes courage to create a new paradigm, or a paradigm, or however people want to call
Yeah.
it. Like, it takes a lot of
How
devotion.
do you
As
say it in Portuguese?
paradigm,
Paradigm.
it's kind of similar.
Paradigma. Ah, like in French, paradigma. Donc in English, it's paradigm. Yeah, because we put, yeah, okay. It is a new paradigma. It is.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
a new way of being, a new way of living, a new way of thinking, a new way of communicating, connecting. Yeah.
Mhm,
Wow.
mhm.
Very nice. This is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom and all this knowledge. And, this, like, even bringing light to possibilities to people, that you can change your life. You can be in charge of your life. And you're doing it so beautifully. Thank you so much, Carolina. What would you like to say before we end today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to have this time with you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing and the beautiful woman that you are featuring here as well. I'm so glad that the world gets to benefit from you and your beautiful network as well.
It is. And all these women that, I met through you as well. And I'm so grateful. And the fact that, we are able to value, connect, celebrate each other. This is what it is. It's really celebrating each other and raising together. We elevate all together. Mm.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for your time. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone, for joining us. Arcoteaching.com if you would like to connect with Caroline. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.